Yeah, what's up, guys? You texted me this morning about a prompt, and I am going through it today
for the first time. What's up, everybody? This is another episode of the NIL show. Welcome to 2023. I'm going to kick off the new year in a fun way, looking back on all of the things that happened last year. So we're going to do a little bit of almost like a pseudo draft of some of our famous moments. And we all prepared very well. Sean sent out a great message that said, hey, pick your top moments, come with some extras, just in case somebody picks yours. And we're just going over. Steven had a question and said, well, what happens if somebody picks my moment? So that's why
I didn't read the message that said you should come prepared with a good handful of selections in case somebody takes your pick.
Some are better prepared than others. That's okay. That's the fun of the draft.
Look, I love this time of the year because you go down memory lane. And so we've been doing a lot of memory lane. Something cool that Sean started. I have so many memories. Right. But Sean started a photo album called NIL for later. Mm-hmm. And whenever funny things happen, we either screenshot or we just put it in the photo album. I think that's freaking hilarious. So
there's a couple of good photos in there. There's an early group of us all decked out in the prototypes of our Indiana cardigans in our conference room here, working away.
I think the very first photo is you, Adam, like looking like a mad scientist, having written all over the wall our plan for the next few months. I love that stuff. It's nostalgic. You look back years down the road. Hopefully we're looking back on it and we're like, do you remember how ridiculous that was that we were doing that or whatever it might be? And it's just a little log for it to look back on.
See all the plans we wrote on the walls and how none of them actually worked out. We had Audible every day.
Every day is an Audible.
That's right. It's a beautiful thing.
I would even say like if we could take this to like what are pivotal moments too, because I think there are points of inflection from a nerdy standpoint of game changing events that happened. I'm going to start.
I love it. Kick it off.
Go for it.
Sean Ellenby's first day of work.
Ooh, that was a big one.
Can I make this one of memory?
Sure.
Is this work? Okay. So let's see.
I have this on my list, by the way.
Sean's first day? Ha! You can't take it. Hell yeah. Okay, so Sean, you're moving to Chicago. You know, you're getting married. You work at Maryland. Mike introduced us because Mike knows everyone. He's like, I've got someone. He's not as cool as me or good looking, but he knows his stuff. He's looking for a job. We talked when I was in California for a month. And I think like I remember, okay, so first day, wine and dine you, everything's cool, whatever. This is the printing industry. And then I see you on your computer trying to mess with Adobe Illustrator. And you're just like, and I could see this look of like, what did I get myself into? And I remember, and I'm like, oh no, you should be messing with that. Like, oh shit. And then Adam's like, what are we supposed to do? There's only two of us. I was like,
who's going to do the art if we
who's going to do the art? And I'm like, dude. And I think of that as a funny, distinct memory because now Sean is a thought leader of our organization. It seems like he has been here forever, but just to see that growth from February, March, something. And even in Sean's first day of the Illini store, you walk outside. We're all like, "All right, guys, we'll see you later." And Sean's like, how do I get home? And I'm
where
like,
the heck am I?
Where am I? And you're like, I was like, hop in.
Dude, I had my phone out and I'm like pinching the map. Like, where the hell am I right now? How do I get back?
So my funny first memory is going to start out with Sean Ellenby's first week at Campus Inc. And that's how I'm going to lead us off.
I like that. That's a strong start.
I'll just add to that. The reason I had that on my list was one, because I hopped in a car that very first day, with Adam and Haley. We drove down to Urbana, right? We drove down and then we're just like, Steven, like you gave and I barely knew you, you're giving us a presentation on the company, which was really cool. And then you start walking actually, it was Lindsay's first day also, I'm pretty sure. And you walk me and Lindsay through the production facility, and we're going step by step through. And I remember like saying something to Lindsay halfway through, like, are we gonna have to know all this stuff?
Is there gonna be a quiz at the end?
But like I look back on it and I'm like, you know what? That was really cool that I got to do that, because you at the time you're like, I have no idea how this all comes to be. And now looking back on it, it's like, that's really cool to know on your very first day, the back end of how things happen. And so that was really cool. And then later in that day, we drove back. It was a 1-day trip. We drove back and we went straight to something else that'll probably be a later pick. So I'm not going to talk about it, but yeah.
Well, I think my first pick, we really are starting at the beginning. This is great. I guess it's a good place to start, is actually on that drive down to Champaign. And this is one of the cool things about being an organization that actually does print our own shirts. We can do some pretty cool stuff and learn about the back end of it. But one of my moments is the Zeke Mayo limited release. There you go. Yes. Yeah, one of our very early athlete custom designs. And as a direct response to Steven being like, Sean, what are you doing in Illustrator, man? Like, you're not good at art. Like, that's not your strong suit, man. We had to loop in Haley. And so we are in the car driving down to Champaign, kind of brainstorming ideas. And Haley's got her laptop open. And if you haven't seen it, maybe we can put a little screenshot up here. But it's just a Mayo jar spinning a basketball, was wearing a Zeke's number in his jersey, and they had a great year. South Dakota State. Go Jacks. Made a good run in the tournament, but we heard a lot of great stories of people in the athletics department wearing his shirt later. But it's just a really fun thing being in the car. Like, all right, Haley, let's ideate on this. Let's spin something up, and it ended up being pretty cool.
That's a funny one. It
was cool. It was really cool. The shirt went off. I remember after that being like, so is Haley just like, is she in charge of like creating our art? I like the next thing came up. I was like, so Haley, you busy?
Haley texted me like, do I have to design for these guys all the time?
That's awesome. Yeah. I wasn't going to take this, but with my first pick, I'll just continue with this transition because, continuing on that very first day that I was working, Adam, we then went straight to the Illini store, and it was the pop-up store in downtown Chicago. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I didn't want to take this because I had nothing to do with any of it. I was the guy that showed up on the day that it opened.
Was that D Brown signing?
Yeah, D Brown signing was on that day. And so I just remember, having worked in college athletics for the previous 10 years, I remember just being blown away. I just thought it was the coolest thing ever that this store, this was real life. Like, you could touch these players' NIL merchandise. You had a ticker in the corner counting how much money you're raising for athletes. And that was one of those original things where I was like, okay, I'm in the right place. This is really cool. But I'll let you guys touch more on that build up to that Illini store, because I was not a part of that.
It's your baby, Steven. You always like to do the crazy things like that. So how was it this year? This was year 2 of the Illini store?
Year 2. And of course I'm like, no, we're not going to do it. No, we're not going to do it. F it. We're going to do it. And so, month of February, we find our spot. Me, Brock, and Haley are roaming around Chicago, looking for vacant real estate, calling landlords, find a spot, open in 7 days. The difference was this was the first NIL focused store. And so it was crazy to see us do it again. And then to customize on site was incredible. My specific memory is the countdown timer. Or the count up ticker, which we're going to have in Vegas. But I think, Adam, you're like, how do we display number? Remember we were texting or riffing on it, and I don't know. I was like, digital count up timer, Amazon. It can be here on Tuesday. Boom, we got it. And that to me was just a memory of how quick we iterated on something. But that little timer, or that ticker, made all the difference. It was super special. Yeah. So,
the pop-up store, 'cause we don't specialize in brick and mortar. That's not what we do. We do e-commerce, and then we provide to retail partners. But that pop-up store really is it's to your point, Sean, a perfect tangible experience of what's happening in the e-commerce space. Right? You get to support directly, see the impact, interact when we had athletes come by, and D Brown came by for a signing, which was, one of my moments, which is pretty cool. But really to be able to tell that story of what NIL merchandise is. I remember you had these like awesome, like huge, like vinyl wall coverings that like told the story of what the Illini store was, and NIL, and I think NBC came by or ABC came by, interviewed us, and Blake
QR
Lawrence,
codes,
covered some things on Twitter, and it was really cool. It was the first NIL retail location, dedicated NIL retail location.
We're going to go down in history as that. And it was open until we lost. So it was open for a short time again.
Speaking of that photo album, there's actually there's an awesome photo of, we talk about this a lot, right? We're not just here doing the NIL stuff. We're fans, right? Like we love supporting our athletes. There's an awesome photo of Steven, store is shut down, sitting by himself 6 inches from this big screen TV in the pop-up shop watching the tournament. He's just dialed in. Don't talk to me.
I love that photo.
Hear about it. It was great, man. It was great. What's your next moment, Sean?
Is it is it me again, or does it go back to Steven?
Well, I don't know. Did all of our moments just synchronously?
We did. That was pretty good.
Was that serendipitous?
I think we had an alignment there.
Wow. What's your horoscope? Haley, if you're listening. But anyways, okay, I'm gonna, for chronology's sake, there was a light bulb moment where we said, wait a second, we're focusing on individual athletes across the country. Why don't we just talk to schools directly?
Mm-hmm.
That, I don't know when that moment of time was. I want to say it was April to May, but it was like, yeah, let's just go to the whole school.
Yeah.
And then we're like, oh.
Well, it was a little bit of an ongoing conversation, because we were starting to get momentum and build and trying to figure out, like, okay, what's the best way to go about managing this process and providing the best value to the athletes and the fans. It was like, well, being able to do licensed stuff, that's really important, right? And so we're like, well, do we try to get like a big group of the student athletes first and then go to the school and say, look what we can do? Or, do we do it vice versa? And we're kind of trying to do both. And then we realized, I think, after a couple of the Zeke Mayo things, after Keely Rochard, which is another one of
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, moments. Realized, like, wait, this is actually a massive value add to the schools. Like, let's just go to them and say, look, we can do this for you. And yeah,
we can do it differently for you. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like this light bulb that was like, oh my gosh, this is a solution, not just a cool product.
Yeah. And I think that's where I think we got, I emailed Cuban and said, hey, like, what do you think about this? He's like, well, tell Indiana I'm here. And I was like, oh, okay, that's a good starting point.
Yeah.
And then it was like the dominoes started to fall. And that, I remember going to that first meeting with IU, not knowing, we were definitely like, we had good references, we had good stuff going on, we have good case studies. And then I think when we left that call, we're like, wow, okay. And that was super cool when we were on the same team as the university. That was definitely a special moment with us, I think.
Yeah, 100%. And I think back to like JC Whidden at Virginia Tech, the stuff that was going on with Keely and the softball team was really special. They, were doing really well. I told this story on this podcast before, so forgive me, but
that's okay.
I will never not laugh when I think about you, Sean, messaging Keely, like wanting her to sign up. And she's like, is this spam? And you just, I think it was Keely that you're messaging, and your perfect response was like, would Spambot know your ERA and, know
that's
you're
right.
hitting this from the plate?
Yes.
And it's like, all right, I guess you guys are legit. So
Yeah.
That's kind of my
What a
moment.
great response.
Thank you. I felt
Perfect.
good about that one.
It was perfect. That's I think kind of my next one is we did Keel's Deals limited release for Keeley, and it was really successful. It was really exciting. They were good, which always helps. But I remember my wife and I were out in the suburbs. I think we were out like by Ravinia, and we stopped to get some lunch, and the college softball World Series was on TV. And all of a sudden I look up and I'm like, wait, behind home plate, there's like 6 people wearing Keel's Deals shirts. I'm like, that's our shirt. Like that's on ESPN right there. So that was kind of where we were able to take some photos there, go back to university and be like, look, this is really cool. How awesome would it be if this was co-licensed? And so that's then when they're like, you're right. That would be really cool. And then it turned into, Keely Rochard being the first NIL co-licensed athlete at Virginia Tech, which was really special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was cool. And then the dominoes fell at Virginia Tech. We had the entire rest of the starting lineup for the Virginia Tech softball team throughout the rest of the tournament. It was so cool.
Yeah. I think what was really special is we were reacting in real time, and like I think the school was like, whoa, you're working quick. Like we're like, yeah, they're playing right now. We got to get merch out. Like when they lose, this is over. Yeah. And so that was really cool to see some of the emails of you all like working with Virginia Tech. Like, like their team is like, oh yeah, we're gonna go. Okay, cool. All right, are you gonna surprise Keely? Yep. How are we gonna do it? Like, here we go. And I thought that was super, super special in the way that you all like working in the night. And I see you all doing that more and more now. When Grace Berger's thing popped up, those moments that Sean talks about, that Keely Rochard was like one of those, definitely those pivotal moments and memorable ones for sure.
Well, we've been going chronologically. I'm going to transition straight from what Steven said because I want to take this. This is really my favorite moment from the year. And that is when Indiana's women's basketball coach Terry Morin wore Grace Berger's merch on the sideline of a nationally televised game, a top 6 matchup against North Carolina. We've talked about it on this podcast a lot. We had Grace Berger on last week talking about it, but that was to me just a seminal moment where I literally I almost fell out of my chair when Brock sent that picture through. Like, do you have? Or he didn't send a picture. He sent a text saying she's wearing a merch. I was like, send a photo. I gotta see this. Like, no way. And it was just it was one of those moments where you're like, holy mackerel, the potential for NIL in the merchandise space is just limitless. If like coaches are willing to support their athletes and go that far to support them, that was just a moment for me where I was like, holy crap, this is really, really special. And we rushed real quick to get Grace's merch back up and live for that particular limited drop. And obviously her scale skyrocketed and unbelievable moment. And I'll never forget it.
I think the cool thing, and I just love watching your reaction to it as well. I think you said multiple times, I have chills. Like this is you feel something, right? And I think that's what oftentimes gets lost a little bit in a lot of this NIL conversation around, is it good? Is it bad? And, of course it's good. I don't know how people could think it's still negative, but I think so often that piece of it, that like, wow, this is a special way for connection to happen and support to happen and advocacy to happen, gets lost so quickly. And that's what we love about sports, is those moments, right? The demonstrations, the support. It was really, really cool.
I think what's interesting there is, okay, like athletes that play at the collegiate level in D1 sports, I forget the percentage, Adam, you've told me, like you have to be at the top 1 point something percent to play in collegiate sports. So these are extremely talented, passionate, and dedicated human beings. Mm-hmm. You give them a different task, like marketing their merch or doing something cool, and they're just going to wow you in ways that have never been available to them. It's the same thing that Anthony Leal just did with his sister, of paying off her student loans. Yeah. Like you're just going to see this top echelon of performers operating in ways that have not been seen before. And I think that's what we're starting to see time and time again, which I think is super rad. All right, Adam, you're up.
I guess this is not not chronological, but I guess my next one is Eva Hudson. Yeah,
Purdue volleyball?
Purdue volleyball.
I'm learning.
She's a beast.
I love it. Yeah, I love it, Steven. She's a freshman, true freshman this year. I believe she ended up being like all Big Ten. She was in the conversation for an All-American award. I don't think she ended up getting it at the end of the year, but a couple cool things there. One, you love seeing a true freshman just dominate and succeed. She's a powerhouse, which is pretty awesome. Personally, having played volleyball, I loved watching volleyball get a lot of attention there in that NIL space. But the cool thing was, we've talked about this from the beginning, and this is a part of our thesis, right? This isn't just for basketball and football. We know the communities, we've seen it with softball, et cetera. But for a while, Eva Hudson was the top selling athlete on the Purdue NIL store. And it wasn't even really that close. And, their football team was no slouches this year. Their basketball team's currently ranked number 1 in the country. So it just another really cool example of like, man, if you have the market and if you're good and you kind of approach it the right way, you can really have some neat things happen in this NIL space. Even if you don't have representation, even if you're not a senior, even if you're not a household name. It was awesome to see that actually pan out for her.
It's always interesting those first couple of weeks when an athlete's store first launches too, because you're like, well, maybe they have a big family, because family and friends tend to buy a lot of merch very early on, right? And you're like, I don't know, maybe she just has a big family. And no. There are a ton of Eva Hudson fans out there, and as the season went on, she just kept selling and selling and selling, and it was incredible.
We're seeing it at DePaul. Yeah, we're seeing it everywhere.
Yeah,
100%. Really cool to see. Love to see those wins.
Am I up?
You're up.
You're up, Steven.
Oh boy! Wait, is this my third one? How many do I get?
I think this is your third one. I've done 2.
I've done 2 also. We'll have time for honorable mentions. We'll go honorable mentions at the end.
Okay, there's part of me that has like distinct memories of like team, like our internal team operating that are like very fun for me that I really enjoy. And then there's like stuff we did as a company for some of our athletes. So I'm going to give both because I'm just going to do that. The day of Indiana posters, when those launched. Hey, Indiana wants to do these posters. I think they're important. We should probably do them. I don't know, like, how do we do them? Mike, can you just go build this thing and posters? He's like, yeah, posters are live. Okay, send it. 15,000 posters later.
Dude.
We're still shipping out posters. And that was a very distinct, us stepping out of our comfort zone to build a solution for a client and then seeing it explode and how quickly and nimble the team did it. And then the bookstore's like, hey, we need them all rolled in tubes. We can fold shirts. We haven't rolled 2,000 posters before in cardboard. Assembly line set up, posters rolled, pallets shipped, posters are on. We operated the first order within a couple days, and then it was like boom, 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 boom. That was a pretty fun memory.
And I think one of my favorite things of watching that whole thing play out was just your approach to it, Steven, and just to toot your horn here a little bit. Like we talked again, crazy ideas, whatever, but there's an element when you're in, a service or decorated industry like this, where you're like, look, I know better than you, right? Like I know how to decorate this shirt. I know the style that's going to sell better than another style. But there's also this really important balance of knowing when maybe there's a good idea or a good opportunity or potential. And these floating head posters, it's crazy to me. I don't understand it. I still don't understand it, but I don't have to understand it.
I was pretty pessimistic. I was like, okay, like we got to do this, support our school. Let's do it. I don't know what's going to happen. What's the risk? Like, let's try it out.
And we've talked to like some pretty big retail partners who are like Indiana graduates, and one of them is like, oh yeah, my dad has every poster dating back to like the late 70s. He's never missed one. And I'm like, what? So it was really cool. And I think the way that we our thesis here is always putting the interest of our athletes first and trying to get them, a fair share of whatever the profits are, not little pennies on the dollar. And I think it's been really cool to watch that actually like literally pay off for the athletes as well.
Yeah, that's been pretty cool.
In there.
Okay, so that was my like NIL deal pivotal thing. We went to a specific school and pitched their team in their boardroom in a part of the Midwest I don't want to say. Hopefully we can announce soon. And we brought the whole NIL team. And we're sitting in their arena, like the boardroom next to the arena. Mm-hmm. And we have all of our samples out, and we like snapped a selfie at the end of it. And that was a really cool thing to be like, whoa, like look at how talented this room is and what we're building. And I don't know, like I get to go and Adam, you and I talk to lots of clients and customers one-on-one, and we've been on stage and been able to do all that. When you get to bring more people into the room, mm-hmm. there's something really fun about that, because we don't, whatever, right? Like we don't need it. It's way more fun when someone who just started 2 months ago is in the room where it happened.
Yeah.
And then they get out and they're just as giddy. Yeah. And you're like, heck yeah. So that was a really special moment. And I hope we can announce that one. Yeah. Fingers crossed soon.
And to see them actually deliver in that room as well. Like that's why you bring them into the room, because hey, you're going to bring a ton to the table here, and watching them light up and watching them, tell their story and just absolutely crush it.
And those are things we just like, we don't, we bring our students in every experience. Age plays no number. Tenure doesn't matter at Campus Inc. when 20 of your employees started in the last year. So it's like, hey, you're coming into the deal room. What? I started a month ago. Yep.
We did the Beatles photo. We reenacted the Beatles photo, right? Walking across the crosswalk with all our jerseys and stuff. It's just fun.
That'll be a fun one to post about.
Rack dragging behind us.
Yeah. All right, I'm done. I'm cut off.
Sean?
Yeah, I think I'm going to close with two also, one more sentimental and one more directly NIL related. I'll start with directly NIL related. I think the Purdue ELF marketing activation, which is really, really cool. I know how all that stuff works on the inside from an athletic department standpoint, and there's so many different touch points you want to hit between video and graphics and emails and all that different stuff. And for them to have the foresight to say, well, this doesn't have to stop here. Like Caleb First has put all this time and effort into helping us push this activation. Why don't we help reward Caleb by doing something NIL related? Why don't we sell a piece of ELF merch that he can make money on and help him push that? And so, again, one of these like seminal moments where it was like the limitless of NIL and the merchandise space, just really, really cool, especially when you have that strong relationship like we do with a lot of our schools. I loved seeing that on display. It was just really, really
And they
awesome.
put the QR code on the Jumbotron.
They did, yeah.
Yeah. And they were doing it in conjunction with a food drive. So it was this whole,
It's like the cherry on top.
Yeah, it was really cool.
It was awesome.
I think I go back to it, and something I'll brag about you all is you all, like, you come from athletics, so like nights and weekends don't phase you, Sean.
Not really.
Like if there's someone I have to ask to like do something, I have to ask Sean to send out an email on Monday. I'm like, okay, like he's not on the road with like his team anymore. Like I'll ask him. I don't feel as bad. But what's cool about the NIL team, you're all former athletes, competitors, coaches. Nothing phases you, and when it's time to compete or step on stage, there's literally no like, do we have to stay up late tonight to work on this Caleb drop? It's literally like y'all are like, we have to get this thing up as quickly as we can. What do we have to do? You can't. There's no HR manual for that. You know what I mean? And just seeing you all, because I have nothing to do with them. I literally sometimes like they hit me by surprise. That's really cool when you all do that. Whether it was Grace Burgers, whether it was Keeley's, those are night and weekend deals. Those don't happen in the 9 to 5. And, hopefully that doesn't like all the time, but it's cool to see,
But if we want to win and we want to be successful in the sports space, that's the expectation.
That's where sports are. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, this is like you all have a winner's mentality and a competitor's mentality when it comes to doing this stuff. And it's pretty sweet to watch. So there's my memory.
I love like Steven and I'll chat in the evening. Sometimes our days just get really busy. So I'm calling, dude, 10 or 15 minute updates or whatever. And I'm like, man, this Caleb First Elf thing is like doing awesome. He's like, what elf thing? I'm like, all right, let me give you some context.
It's not that I'm out of touch. We just,
you got a lot going on.
Main breaks and water pipes freezing and trying to ship shirts out. So I do care.
I will just, I'll
what else, Sean?
I'll add my sentimental thing. And I sent you guys a photo the other day thinking, oh, maybe this would be a good LinkedIn post for Steven. I don't know. I feel like you CEOs are always looking for ways to show like growth and like, I don't know, cheesy, unique ways or whatever. And so I'm making coffee and I happen to glance up and we have an entire row that is totally filled with coffee mugs. And then it's like seeping into another row of coffee mugs. And at Campus Inc., like everybody kind of has their own coffee mug. And so it's literally like a coffee mug is really directly shows like a single body or a single person. That's their mug. And I remember way back early on when there was like 5 mugs on there, 4 mugs or whatever it was.
Your mug.
Yeah. And first day, like I brought my mug in with my dog on it and there's Steven like walking, drinking. I'm like, who the hell is this guy?
I was like, oh, sweet, a clean mug. Awesome.
And maybe I started the like, okay, no, you use your own mug thing. I don't know how you did it before I got there, but
like,
there it is,
that
Truman.
back, actually right now.
But yeah, I was like, holy crap, we've grown like crazy. And specifically on our NIL side, like, I know like started with you two and then I happened to join on and then like we added Molly and Molly's just such a stud and took us to another level. Brock played such a massive role from an art standpoint for a long, long time. Really like Adam, you and I were messing around with art and Brock's like, you guys need some help. And so, played a massive role. And then we had, Sarah and Jason and Danielle we get from Influencer and she's just a complete stud. And so all these different people who are so talented, to get us where we are. And, I don't know, it just makes you feel good that like not only do talented people want to come and work with you, but they believe in what you're doing and we're going places. So, yeah.
How many mugs are on there? Is it the right amount of mugs to seats, desks?
I don't know. It's probably about.
Do we have I think we have every desk filled in Chicago.
Yes, that we definitely do.
We broke down a wall this year, Steven. You literally had to break a wall down in the office.
I make Sean and Adam share an office. They're in a little bubble. But what, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15? Are we 20 some?
Something like that.
Wow. Well, we need to add some mugs because I only counted and there were 16 on there, Sean. So I'll do the sentimental pick. I thought it was really funny. I was like, how do I spin this? This is cool. That's pretty cool. I think that's it's crazy to think how many people have joined our squad. And I think what's really interesting is everyone joined because they knew someone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sean brought in because of Mike, right? Like Liz was working for a competitor and we knew each other, right? Like Danielle worked on our account, right? Mm-hmm. Like Molly was an athlete, like Molly was a student in Adam's class. I think that is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
No one came in off the streets. Everyone came in because they knew someone, which was pretty sweet. So
and a testament to the team too, because that's, you got good people that you believe in what you're doing and you want to have other good people be a part of it. So referrals are always good.
Yeah. And we couldn't pick and choose who to take to Vegas. So as this is airing, we are preparing for the sports licensing tailgate show and 27 of us, 27, 26.
Yeah. It's not a chartered plane, but it's going to feel like a chartered plane. It's just going to take over.
Yeah. 26 going to Vegas, 3 Airbnbs and 20. Yeah. We'll have to send a recap when that's done.
That's gonna be fun.
All right, Adam, finish this off.
I guess I'll carry on with the theme of twos. I think my NIL one, and this is going back a little bit further. We talked about this a little bit, but the D Brown signing day at the Illini pop up, I think, was really special because obviously D is he's a U of I legend, so that makes sense. But the piece that I think was really cool about it was NIL wasn't a thing when he was playing, and it is now. And so he's able to still take part in that as a graduate, as an alum, and still sell his college jersey, still make money off of his NIL from in his college days, and still connect with fans in really meaningful ways. And that, I think, is just another really good example, again, of like how the things we love about sports, how great this is. We had people lined up like around the block on a Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening, and they were bringing in like their books from like 2005.
That was cool.
Bringing in their own basketballs, bringing in their kids who are like, man, like, you know, I show my kid the game every year. He wasn't born yet. Like, being able to still create those types of moments for student athletes is really cool. And it's been a really neat thing to show that to other institutions as well and say, look, this is still a great way for your alum to reconnect with their fans.
Yep.
And for them to earn some money. So that's kind of like my NIL one. I think my internal, maybe like special sentimental moment was the emails that you and your team send out like every day. Sean, are my favorite emails to read. It's just updates on what's going on, limited releases, news around the different stores and what have you. But there was one, and I've shared this with you already. There was one that just, it kind of made me stop and almost like take a beat. I actually forwarded the email to my personal email box because I was like, I don't ever want to lose this email. It was this great highlight of a combination of limited drops, a combination of new school licenses that were added, and then the announcement of our Meta partnership as well. And it was just this incredible moment in time of, look, this is all that happened in the last week. And it really like caught me off guard where I was like, man, it's so easy to get in the weeds and the challenges and the frustrations and the building and forget about like, yo, this is an NIL Meta partnership where we're resourcing athletes with really cool social media tools. This is a newly announced licensee in a massive historic collegiate athletics brand. And these are limited drops that we're doing custom that really represent who this athlete is on merchandise. It was such a good reminder to just recognize and appreciate how good a lot of the hard work turns out to be.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate those emails. I'll never delete that one.
You have to forward me that one so I tried to search Meta in my inbox and then like everything came up. I was like, okay, that was dumb. But yeah, I think a lot of times we are in the weeds so hard, and like the two of you especially, and then to just like sit back and be like, whoa, what did we actually do this year? If I might ask a couple finishing questions, what are you most excited about? Like, what are you looking forward in 2023? Like, what are you pumped about?
I would say that I'm really, well, we have put a lot of people in the right place for us to really, I think, flourish and take this thing to the next level. I think we're going to explode in 2023 in ways maybe the three of us couldn't even have foreseen or imagined. I think that 2022 was setting the foundation for who we could be. 2023 is going to be when I think the rest of the country kind of looks at us and is like, whoa, these guys are major power players in the NIL space. And we're going to be recognized for it. We got to put the work in, obviously. And as I said at the top, like we got the people in place to put that work in. And so I'm just excited to see that come to fruition.
Sweet. Adam, what about yourself?
am excited to continue refining what we do. We have a phrase around here, 1% better every day. And I feel like looking back on this last year, the reason that phrase is important is because you don't have to cut down the entire forest in one day, right? You just keep chipping away at what's in front of you little by little. And I think looking back on all these accomplishments and things, I think this last year is a pretty good demonstration of that mentality works, and continuing to carry on that philosophy, that approach, that mentality of like, hey, let's just try to get 1% better every day this next year. It's really exciting and motivating to think about, a whole other 365 days of that approach and that mentality. And as somebody who's a fan, as somebody who loves the sports industry, as somebody who, loves education and student athlete development, being able to provide a really good solution that is going to continue to improve and make the industry better is quite literally one of the reasons why I get up and go to work every single day.
That's sick. I don't think I can top that. I was looking at our year in review stuff and like how much money we put in athletes' pockets and student pockets and all that stuff. It's several $100,000. I'm excited for 2023 when we start looking at how to add a zero to that. I think that's going to be a cool. Yeah, we're going to grow the business, but like, how do we put $1 million into athletes' pockets?
Yeah.
Right. Like, how do we? Yeah, a couple $100,000. That's cool. How do we do it? Like, how do we hit that $1 million mark? I don't know if we're going to hit it this year. I have no idea if we're going to be able to.
We're going to throw a big party if we do.
We'll throw a big party if we do. But that's like, then we start moving some needles here. The other thing is it takes, I talked to a bunch of my friends about this. It takes like six to 9 months for an employee to really be ramped up and comfortable before they feel like they can fly. And with 20 new hires in the last 8 or 9 months, we're just getting that on board. Like everyone's starting to actually get ramped up. Mm-hmm. And so when we're all actually ramped up this year, it's going to be scary to see what we're capable of, because now when we add another employee, it's like, oh yeah, the bus is already moving at 80 miles an hour. Like just hop on and get with it. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be challenging. We're going to hit a lot of new growing pains. Our technology is going to be rebuilt again and again and again, and so we're definitely going to be challenged, but it's going to be like a more fun type of challenge, I feel like.
No doubt.
So cool. Well, this is great. I feel great now. I should probably start
that was
working on my
fun.
New Year's resolutions and hit the gym or something.
We'll see at Orange
This
Theory.
is great. Yeah, I appreciate you all, and this is fun. And I hope in the next year we don't lose this either, because this is a really good opportunity for us to reflect.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
let's
wait to
make
watch.
sure we don't do that. Yeah. Hey, and if you listen to this and you like it, subscribe. We'd appreciate it. Hit us a like, rate us,
yeah.
And
share it with your friends too.
Share it with your friends, because I think we do this for each other. I think we do it to hold for later. I think we do it for content, but it has been really cool to hear from people being like, oh yeah, I listened to that. I'm like, oh, wow, that hour a week is worth something. So we appreciate you.
100%.
All right. We'll talk to you later.
Awesome.
Bye.
See ya.